Well, welcome everybody to another webinar. First of all, can you all give me a yes if you can hear me okay and see the screen okay? Do we have a problem with the screen? I think we do, don't we, guys? Do we have a, give me a P for problem if we have a problem with the screen? This is because of I had to, my PC rebooted the other day. Okay, 1 second, guys. One second, apologies for this. Okay, I don't understand why that isn't picking up the screen properly. Right, it's picking up the wrong screen. Sorry guys, just give me a moment. Let's cancel that. I haven't messed with these settings since I set this up a few months ago now, but since I had the problems with my PC over the weekend, it seems to have changed the screen that it's capturing. Okay guys, I don't think I can correct it without starting OBS. So the workaround is it's recording the the wrong monitor and the size is out. So apologies guys. These are the if you don't know, I had PC issues over the weekend. Anyway, I will fix it for next time. So it's on screen 2, should be screen 3. So is everybody doing all right? Thank you for joining me in the evening while we have a quick review of some of the opportunities that are out there. First of all, is anybody in any trades other than the ones that have been sent out as the signals? Because we're still in a few trades, aren't we? A few pound pairs. Let me know, by the way, if that's okay for you. I know we've only got 3/4 of a screen there, but that's as best as I can make it, I'm afraid. So just say hello to, let's have a look, Sarah, Marcus, Pete, Ashraf, Ian, George, said no trades at all. You're not in any trades? Did you not take any of the signals, said? I've had a few of them. We're still in a trade as well from last week, the pound dollar trade, still short that. So if you do have any questions throughout the course of this webinar, please post them in. I'll do my very best to answer them. And okay, said we'll come back to that in just a moment then. This is YouTube Live. Typically there's a 15-second delay. So what tends to happen is sometimes I can skip on to the next subject by the time the text comes through. So if that just happens, give me a minute and I'll go back over it. So you were in them, said, but you sabotaged them. Okay, well this is going to be quite a good topic. Well, first of all, thank you for being honest. It is actually, believe it or not, the first part of overcoming the psychology and that mental barrier that kicks in when we're in those live trades. What was your reason for sabotaging them? And there could be many reasons. It could be that they started to go into the negative. It could be that it was close to your stop loss. It could be that it was actually going closer to your targets and you thought, well, I'll take it, and it'll help to gain back some of the losses you've taken. But what was your specific reason? And just list as well, if you had said, the trades that you were actually in. And this will do wonders for your mentality, this. Yeah, exactly, Pete. Honesty. Listen, if you cannot be honest, look at it this way. If you're able to be honest to a group of people, then you're able to be significantly more honest to yourself. So, I'll just applaud you for coming out straight away and saying that. Because we are in, and I'll just bring over the trades. We are in the pound dollar, guys, aren't we? We're in the pound yen. Okay, said you're too late for the entry. All right, so did you actually... I moved stop loss too quickly. Moved your stop loss. Yeah, okay, you moved stop loss too quickly. Okay, what were the feelings that you had at the time? Because it's going to be very important to understand that those feelings that you had at that time made you sabotage those trades. And I do talk about this quite a lot, that trading, in my opinion, is it's not what the win rate is, it's not what the risk reward is, it's not how good the strategy is, because you can have all of those very, very good, and you can have them, mediocre, where it just has a small win rate over a long period of time. But without consistency and without having the psychology and the mentality to hold the trade through to its completion, that results in sabotaging. So you moved your stop loss, and then your stop got hit. Okay, so you moved your stop loss closer to where price was on its way to the stop loss, and you moved your stop loss closer to it. And was that the pound yen by any chance? Yeah, would be bad for the psychology. Because said at that time, and this goes for everyone, those emotions that kicked in are the same emotions that kick in for everyone. And you are not alone with this. They're kicking for me, they're kicking for absolutely everyone, because we are all emotional beings. And that's how the market moves. The market actually moves on psychology. It moves based on my interpretation of, is the market going to go higher or lower? So if I buy it, the market goes up. And it's the same with all the thousands or hundreds of thousands of other traders out there. They buy based on what technical analysis or what their feeling is, or they believe it's going to go up or down, and it's all based on psychology. So when you move your stop loss, that feeling, is what everybody has, and it's that we all need to overcome to be able to simply hold the trade. So obviously you're out of that trade. Let us know what trade it was, though, and it'll be good to see the outcome of it, because whether it wins or loses, you're out of that trade now, and I don't think there's anything worse than actually sabotaging a winning trade. We're in the pound yen at the moment, which I think it has been up and down into profit, up about 30, down about 10, and I don't know what's going to happen with that trade. I only know that we've got a higher probability of it going on to hit targets. But if you sabotage that trade, you've banked those losses straight away. And there's nothing worse than that trade going on to win, and you're sitting there by your computer thinking, I'm really silly. I just shouldn't have done that. But here's the thing, you probably won't stop doing it. And that's the whole point of these webinars and of the chat system, is that hopefully as a community, it does alleviate some of those feelings that trading brings on, which is sabotage at the end of the day. Martin, how many pairs do you follow in your trading? If that's for me, Martin, I've got 13 currency pairs that I actively trade, though if there's any good structure-based trades above and beyond those, I will take them as well. In actual fact, we're looking at a euro pound head and shoulders 2618 entry as well, Martin. So all right, Sed. If you want to post that in later, you can do, or if you want to direct message me and talk about it, I'm more than happy to do that and help you out with your trading. But it just goes to show, you know, it said won't be alone. Many traders, I did it, stop doing it now. But many traders out there, that's the reason why they fail. Let's crack on then with a few trading opportunities. Let's go and take a look at the pound Aussie first of all, and delete this information off from the other day. Pound Aussie was spoken about quite a few times. This was the AB equals CD pattern, and we have now come down for another retest, giving us a nicer looking double bottom. And I'm just going to draw this out. So there's the AB equals CD pattern. It did come down into the wicks down here. We did have the RSI go oversold, and we do have a 1618 extension down at that level as well. So it's likely we're going to see a reaction down here. It does also occur at that 17700 psychological number, and with these AB equals CD patterns, because they happen quite frequently and are not very profitable, we need to add another strategy to it, and that strategy is a rotation pattern. And so if I put a structure level on just down here, you can see we have actually now come down for a triple test. This to me, my concern last time, if you remember guys, when we looked at this, was when the market was like this, my concern was that it didn't look like a double bottom, because I like to see roughly the same number of candles on the left as I did to the right, and it wasn't forming the way I wanted. And so what we've done now is it looks more symmetrical now, doesn't it? It looks much better. So we've come down, we've held. More than that, we've also put in a higher high, higher close. The problem with this trade is we're talking 150 pips of risk. So I cannot get involved just based off the hold at that level. I am going to have to drop down the time frames and look for the entry. And I'm just going to throw the target on, which will be that 382. And there's still 400 pips up for grabs on this potential trade. Well, 392 now. It's come down a little. So I'm going to be dropping down the time frames. I'm going to drop to the 60, and I'm going to be looking for that entry reason. Now, the lower the time frame we go, the higher the probability we're going to be stopped out. So it's advisable to only drop down one time frame. If we drop down two, the probability decreases. Okay, let's have a look. Stewie, it's hard to be disciplined, but you can do it and you will feel better for it. Yes, Stewie, exactly. And said, I mean, don't feel bad about it at all, and don't feel like I'm singling you out. You know, again, thank you for your honesty, because that is really 50% of the battle. If that feeling comes over you again, send me a direct message or post it in the chat. Say, guys, I'm feeling like I want to sabotage this trade. These are the emotions I'm feeling right now. And let's put aside the fact that we do have a few women in here, but men in particular are not very good with their emotions. And you may have heard that women make very good traders, and there's a very simple reason for that, and it's not because they're cleverer than men. It's simply because they can deal with emotions far better. You've only got to look at when relationships break up. The majority of women do substantially better than men because they are able to deal with it emotionally better, and that's just why they make better traders. So yeah, next time that happens, send me a DM or post it in the chat. We'll talk about it as a community or individually, whatever makes you feel better, and we will work on it. And again, said I see a psychotherapist who deals specifically in emotions. I'm quite open about that because I know that was a key turning point in my trading, and it's helped me dramatically. And if I can pass on any part of that knowledge to you or anyone else, then I will do. It gave me a headache. I left the screen. Yeah, Yeah, okay. Those are the emotions where there are so many that said, I call them triggers. And a trigger is, I think a lot of you know that my wife is an alcoholic, and she's been part of the AA community now for 7 years. So she's been dry for 7 years, and she's done what's called the 12-step program. And it's understanding what a trigger is when you're drinking. So just to put things into context, for her, a trigger was it's her birthday, and usually in the past on her birthday she would be drinking with her friends, or she'd be at a party, or would be going out and having a meal, and she'd have a glass of wine or even a beer. And now that she doesn't drink, when it's her birthday and we go out and she's within that same situation, we're at a restaurant where she would have usually had a drink, or we're at a party where she would have usually had a drink, that is an emotional trigger for her. And it's her brain clicking in and saying, hang on a minute, I'm used to having a drink during when I'm getting these emotions during this situation, and I'm not having one. Something's wrong, and your brain's telling you, go and get a drink. And it's the same with trading. You're in the trade and you want to sabotage the trade because you've done it in the past, or maybe you've not done enough back testing, maybe you don't know your strategy well enough, and your brain is telling you exit the trade early because it's going against you. Exit it early, save yourself some pips, you're doing the right thing. And it's very hard to overcome that very powerful voice inside of you. But with time and practice and help, and I will say this, that you do need help. 90% of people fail because we don't have help. And but if we did have that help, I think that figure would be a lot less. So, but you're back now, said. What you need to do is just understand when those feelings come over you, and either walk away from the monitor so that you don't sabotage the trade, or again, jump in the chat is probably the best thing so that we can all deal with it for you. Stewie, we're all here to help. Sarah, loving the honesty and support here. Pete, absolutely, Sarah. Yeah. So anyway, what you need to do, said, is I won't keep going on about it now, but that trade is done and dusted. Put it behind you. Make sure that before you enter in your next trade, your emotions are in check. Okay, there are 3 levels to your emotions. There are the middle, which is where we should all be at on a day-to-day basis. Then we have the extreme, where we're up high, where we're very agitated and we're very eager and we feel pressured. Okay, and that's when we make bad judgment calls. And then we have the opposite side, when we were very down, maybe when we've had a drink or an argument and you're very angry with yourself. Okay, those are the times that we don't want to trade. We want to trade when our emotions are in the middle. So, pound Aussie, going back to that. Pound Aussie. So we had the double bottom now confirmed for me. I would have got an entry if the trade wasn't over 100 pips, and we've had the 240 higher high, higher close. We do have this indicating that the pound Aussie is going to go higher, and we've got the pound dollar and the pound yen hopefully going lower. So depending what the pound does, it may affect one of these trades. But right now, all I can see is that there is an opportunity on the pound Aussie. It's just whether or not we can get involved. So here on the 60, there's nothing here for me. If I put a structure level on, just here at the highs, you can see we haven't violated this level. And if we drop down to the 15, there's not a great deal here either. I was actually looking at a potential head and shoulders here actually to get involved with the trade. Still a potential, this actually. And if we just zoom out a little bit, you can actually see that head and shoulders came in to this left structure level just here. And if we was able to use this as the entry, we could have taken first targets. We can still do this, by the way, guys, if we do pull back, particularly if we get a rotation pattern in the left shoulder. We can use that as the entry, get a very small stop loss, something like this. Just make that red. That would be first targets, and I would then hold for second targets all the way up here. Looks nice, that, doesn't it? Looks a nice reward to risk. I would be quite happy to take this trade if it comes off, because we would be talking about 20 pips of risk, and the reward there, well, to first targets we'd be looking at something like 80, and then we'd be holding for second targets, which are another 300 pips higher. Other than that, if I go back to the 240, what I'll then be waiting for is the 2618 trade. So we'll be simply waiting for the market to violate these highs just here, waiting for that pullback into that 61.8 fib. And I will not be aggressive with this simply because of the size of the trade again, but what I'll be doing is dropping down a time frame to maybe the 60, and I'll be looking for an entry reason and some structure. So there isn't too much structure here, that's what concerns me. We maybe have this area here. If we're looking around that 61.8 area, it's going to be a bit difficult, but you guys have seen many a time now when we've seen rotation patterns within 2618s and within head and shoulders. If we get a confirmed double bottom here, well, then I'll be quite happy to take that. So we'll wait and see what happens here. We'll wait and see what happens on the 15, see if that head and shoulders comes off. If not, I think it'll be the 2618. Do we have an advanced pattern here? No, we don't. So, any questions on the pound Aussie, guys? So, waiting for a potential aggressive head and shoulders. Well, aggressive, it's not aggressive, but it would be aggressive holding for second targets. If not, it's the 2618 on that trade. Welcome, Yuri. How about the Brexit deal to go long on it? Fundamentals don't really make a difference to me. You know, I'm a technical trader, so I will go off what the charts tell me. I don't go off what the bias is that we're going to see pound strength or pound weakness. However, if there is a big news event coming out to do with Brexit, then that may stop me from entering that trade until the news has been out and the markets have settled down a little. So technical trader only. Fundamentals don't interest me in the slightest, unless the only way that they interest me is, as mentioned, is if there's a big news event coming out, or we're going to war, or America's picking a new president, something like that. Other than that, it really doesn't interest me. I'm purely just a technical based trader. Khan is the person to speak to. I think he's quite a fundamental trader. I don't know if he's in the room, but Yuri, speak with Khan. He's in the chat quite a lot. He might be right up your street. So no questions on the pound Aussie. We'll wait and see if that head and shoulders comes off. Let's make a note of that, head and shoulders. And I will move on to the Euro Swissy, which I think is Sarah's trade, isn't it, Sarah? This is your falling channel that we've been speaking about, and we said we'd put it on the watch list. And this channel is looking like this. So we have a swing in the market, we have a directional move, and then we saw a pullback. And then if we draw the channel out based on the closes of the candles, we duplicate it and move it down, then we actually have one test, two test, 3, 4. And those of you that have done the educational material within the platform will know why we wait for the 5th test, and it's simply because that is where we need this 5th test to get our reward to risk. So 5th test, what we then need is a structure level for this to come into, and right here we have the wicks right at this point just here. So we've got a little ways to go before we get that 5th test, and we do have a psychological number here, 111 flat, though from the look of it, unless we just spike down and hold this level, we're probably going to come a little bit lower here. Now for this falling channel to be valid, we do need this first test to be oversold, and we do need to see divergence. Now there is a very small amount of divergence here, but this would make the trade still valid for me. So this would be a valid opportunity. So guys, down here I'll be dropping down the time frames. I'll be dropping down to the 240, and I will be looking for a conservative entry. And here on the 240 we do have a little bit more confirmation. We have an AB equals CD pattern coming right in to our price reversal zone like that. Now I don't think we had any fib confluence here. Let's look for an extension from our swing low to swing high. And as you can see, we have a very minor fib there, the 1414. That doesn't interest me by itself. If we look for an inversion, then we have a 1618, but that falls just before the completion of that AB equals CD pattern. So there isn't a great deal now, to be honest with you, but we can start prepping ourselves to see, is there anything here that might give us an indication that we could see a rotation. I think this is very weak, but you could make out a left shoulder there, maybe a double bottom, pull up for a 2618, and then the chance to get long this potential pattern. So just spotting these early, getting an idea of what may happen. We'll take a quick look at the 60 as well. And if there's any questions about this, just chuck them in the chat, guys, and I'll go over it. Well, look at that, you have another AB equals CD pattern there. So if I just, let me go back to the 240 so you can see this correctly. And I clear this up a little. You've got another AB equals CD pattern that comes into this area. So we have quite a nice bit of confluence around here, don't we? We've got two AB equals CD patterns, psychological number, the falling channel. We'll simply wait and see if it provides us some kind of entry. Any questions on the Euro Swissy, guys? But Sarah, it's a very nice find. It'll be a nicer find if we get an entry and it goes on to win. And if it doesn't, everybody blames Sarah. So that's a Euro Swissy. We've done the pound Aussie. Let's go and take a look at the pound New Zealand. See what's going on there. I did have something on the pound New Zealand. I've got, including this, 4 other currency pairs to take a look at, guys. Okay, so pound New Zealand, we're clearly bearish here, aren't we, guys? Just look at the directional run. And I do say this all the time. Directional move, small pullback. Directional move, small pullback. Directional move. I'm predicting a move now all the way down to this level. Is there a cipher pattern here? Yes, there is. X to A to B, B to C, CD completion is around this point. So maybe this is something you want to be a little bit wary of. Cipher patterns have a win rate of around 70 to 75%. So that could kick in. Here's the thing, they're valid all the way down to the X leg down here. So we could see price come all this way, or we could see it turn right now. So let's throw on a fib. Let's just leave the 786 on, which is where these can turn from. And we will drop down the time frames and see if there's any structure. If price is telling us it's holding a level like the 18400 psychological number, and see if it does provide an entry to get long on this trade. We'll go and take a look at the 240. Sarah, fingers crossed. Yep, you better be right. Don't want to be taking a loss. So we know that we're moving very directionally on the daily. Here on the 240, we can see pretty much the same movement. Very directional move down to this level. Then we saw a pullback, and now we've made a move lower. So this is now the entire outside return. Okay. So classic trend continuation trade here, but we do want to be a little bit more cautious because we do have that cipher pattern and it has hit and gone past the 786, and at any point that cipher pattern may or may not kick in. So let's just look left first of all, because this, tell me guys, what could this also be? This could either be trend continuation or it could be something else. What's the name of this pattern, guys? It's a rotation pattern. Throw the name in for me in the chat just while I'm looking left for structure. Head and shoulders. Okay, head and shoulders, one of the rules that's in the educational material is that head and shoulders is a rotation pattern, and because I'm a structure based trader, that means that head and shoulders needs to go into structure and typically turns within the wicks. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm checking that this isn't going to be a potential head and shoulders because of the cipher pattern. And we do have a little bit of structure here. Can I look any further left? And just to show you the structure level that I'm looking at, it's this double bottom right here. Okay, and we do have another test there and this here as well. Let's just look left if there's anything else. Well, there is, guys, isn't there? See how we've held this level? So this is a fairly decent structure level that's seen a reaction in the past, and it could be an area then where this cipher pattern finds support. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to put two structure levels in. Sorry for all the screen moving, guys. I'm going to put two structure levels in. I'm going to put one at the close of the candles and one at the lows of the wicks. And as we look left, that's going to tell me a very important piece of information. What's it going to tell me, guys? Because I've got a structure level here now which is on the closes of the candles and the wicks. As I look left, it's going to tell me if this structure level was held or if we violated it. Anti-dandruff. Head and shoulders. Do you get head and shoulders in America? Sarah may not get that. I don't know. It's a shampoo anyway. Right, so if we zoom in here, well, I would have to measure this out to see if we did or did not violate that structure level. On this first test, we just came down into that area. That means that we held that structure level, we held this structure level, and as we look left at that bigger structure level, and we zoom in, then yes, this held right here, this held here, this held here, and technically that held as well because of the wicks. If you see the wicks, because the wicks spiked down to here and we didn't close below the wicks, then that's another structure hold as well. So yes, we want to be more cautious here, don't we, in terms of trend continuation. Let's go and take a look at this then on the 60. So this is still a good opportunity to short the market because, again, we never know if it's going to be trend continuation or if it's going to be the reversal of the cipher pattern. What could we look for then which would provide more confirmation and a smaller amount of risk for our entry up here that would allow us to get a conservative, safer entry into a short opportunity? Let me know what two strategies we could use, and they are the only two strategies I would use in this situation. And I would look for it within the wicks. And I'd just go along and highlight all the wicks. And it would be a rotation pattern. Yeah, a confirmed double top or a head and shoulders with an initial structure low. It would provide more safety. Can everybody see that then, why we're in clear trend continuation for me, no doubt about it, but when we have another signal which indicates we want to buy, we just want to be a little bit more cautious, and this is why higher time frame analysis is very important, and this is why I like to look at all the strategies that I use on all of the time frames. So yeah, if we can get a move up to here and a confirmed double top or a head and shoulders or anywhere within these wicks that will offer me a small amount of risk, a conservative entry, then we can take it. And we can even look at taking initial targets at the left shoulder here if you'd like, move to break even and hold and see if we get the continuation lower. So we can manage it many different ways. Just take a quick look at the 15. Okay, there's the head and shoulders here on the 15. Head and shoulders is a pattern, so you're looking for a swing in the market. You had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower. It came and held within our price reversal zone. Remembering these two lines here is structure. We held structure, we violated the outside return, saw a small pullback, and looking now like we're going to go higher. So this would be the head and shoulders here. So again, head and shoulders is a pattern. You're looking for a swing in the market. You're looking for a directional move. You're looking for the lows of structure within the wicks for it to be held. Classic head and shoulders here. So this is indicating at this point that we are still going to go a little higher. The question is, do we violate this level or not? But right now, I would be a bit dubious about selling this market unless it gave me a very conservative entry. Is there any questions on the pound New Zealand there, guys? Gone over quite a lot there. But if you're not a pattern trader or you've never learned them and you just choose to completely ignore the cipher pattern, well then it's a trend continuation trade for you. First, second or third chance entry strategy you can use on it and look for your shorting opportunity. It is a very large trade though. The pound New Zealand is a mover. You'd be looking, if you got an entry here, you'd be looking at about 100 pips of risk. So if I'm going to put 100 pips of risk on a trend continuation trade, I want to make sure that it has the highest probability, and where I can, I want to reduce that risk. And I would just be a little bit wary of the cipher. Let's just see, do we have any fib confluence down there? Ah, look at that, guys. We also have an AB equals CD pattern. Let's just go back a second. Let's just go back to the dailies. Okay, from our swing here to the low point here, I think this will be a harmonic move. We move this down. We know that it's come into the structure level here. On this time frame, we do have the RSI that has gone massively oversold at 13. We are also at a psychological number, 18400. Are things now stacking up that we could actually see a bullish move here, even though this is trend continuation? Would you agree, guys? Would you agree that there would be some hesitation now in selling the market for trend continuation, given the fact that we do have more confluence that the market is potentially stalling and going the other way? Let's go back to the 240. Now this then runs right into what this could be, which is what I said at the beginning. This could actually be a head and shoulders. And for me, I would be looking for that 38.2 target. Okay, catch up with the chat a little bit. Pete, double top. There's Convergence also. Vinco, very nice. ABCD, yep. Well spotted. Ashraf, yep. Sarah, a lot of hesitation, yep. Warning signs are coming up, yeah. And it's the beauty, I think, of having multiple strategies, is that you can actually use what, if you're just a trend continuation trader and you don't know how to trade the other strategies, well, you would never have known about the ABCD pattern, about the fact that it's coming to a structure level that has had a reaction in the past, 4 or 5 major reactions. It's coming to the 18400 psychological number. The RSI is massively oversold at 13 on the dailies, and we're setting up a classic head and shoulders pattern with an AB equals CD pattern. You just wouldn't have known all that. Instead, you would have just gone ahead and taken the trend continuation strategy, which is fine, but over time you will be less profitable because you're going to be less knowledgeable. So I'm actually liking the look of this, to be honest, guys. So this head and shoulders, what would be, because we're not right down at the lows, and let me just clarify something here. Head and shoulders, I do say that we need them to come within the wicks and into the lows of structure. So head and shoulders is going to be more powerful down here. But we know that this structure level is a decent structure level and has come into the wicks as well. And we've got quite a lot of confluence there. But to add additional confluence to this head and shoulders, what can we wait for? In fact, I've already drawn it out. What can we wait for to give extra confirmation that the market is potentially rotating? Stewie, just to get the right to the right shoulder cannot violate the left shoulder. No one have ever explained this structure to me as well. Thanks, Chris. You're making me blush, Vinco. Making me blush. Initial structure high. Exactly, Marcus. Exactly. So we're going to wait for, if I put a structure level on, this is the high of the outside return. Okay? If we physically close above it, and the candle physically closes above this point, this is going to give us something called an initial structure high, which is an indication that we're going to see a rotation. We can then look for the pullback. Now at this point we can implement one of the 3 trend continuation strategies, can't we? We highlight the entire outside return. We can look for the first chance entry, which is within the wicks, the second chance entry, which is within the candle bodies, and the last chance entry, which is the wicks at the bottom. And you guys that have been doing the webinars for quite a while now know that I prefer the last chance entry. It actually happens the most often, getting the reversal pattern within the wicks, more than the first chance or the second chance entry. We typically see a rotation pattern within the wicks. And I love this setup because this is going to provide me a very small amount of risk for a gigantuous reward. And I have said in the past, these trades do happen. I'm not too sure if George is in the house, but the head and shoulders and the 26 and the 226.18 entries, I think, was also on the pound New Zealand short, if George is in the house. If not, somebody else may remember it. And we had a very, very similar setup to this, where we looked for 2 double tops and we got them in 2 double 26.18s. And it was 180 pips of reward for like 40 or 50 pips, and it came off, but I missed the entry. So, but this does happen. What's that, a 7-1, something like that? Let me just draw this out. Let me draw it out. Wow, oh God, 70 pips of risk for that little move. The reward must be 500 here. 522 pips. Now that would be a good trade. So that's what we're going to be waiting for, guys. Pound New Zealand. Let's drop to the 60 and take another look at this. I'm liking that a lot. Any questions on that, guys? This as well, just to clarify a point, a lot of you know that I do like double-headed head and shoulders. Okay, there's going to be two problems for us to get a double-headed head and shoulders. Can anybody tell me what the first problem will be? So if this is going to be a double bottom or a double-headed head and shoulders, we need price action to come down. So it's going up now. We need it to come back down to this level, don't we, and hold. Can anybody tell me the two problems that we have? Okay, Marcus has spotted the first one. There is no RSI confirmation on the first test. Well spotted. This is a pound pair, isn't it? So actually we can take it from 30 on the pound pair. However, if we want to be less aggressive on this trade, you may then want to wait for the RSI to be over 80. So I'll go with Marcus on this. There would be no RSI confirmation. What's the second problem if we get a double bottom down here? Can anybody see it? I'll just draw a double top. This double bottom here has already come into this structure level, and that's not what we want to see, because if the market comes back down here, the double bottom, it's already reached its destination. So even though it may be a valid double bottom, we don't want to enter because it's already come into previous structure. Exactly, Marcus. Yeah, it's already come into previous structure. So I can tell you now that we're not going to get a valid double bottom. So really the entry for me is I'm going to wait for an initial structure high, and then a pullback, and then a conservative entry. And then I'm going to be rubbing my hands together for 522 pips. Or crying for losing 70. I'm going to be doing one or the other. So very nice opportunity there. If it comes off, this is the 4 hourly, so we've got tomorrow, maybe the day after. Next 48 hours, I think we'll be looking, we'll get an idea of what price action is doing. Until then, we don't want to be aggressive, we don't want to buy, we don't want to sell, we just want to wait. And so even if this provided here now the trend continuation opportunity, it provided a lower close, I'm not going to take it. In fact, I'm not going to take the trend continuation opportunity at all now, because we have too much confluence in this area. I'm going to wait and wait, and if I miss a winning trade, well, I miss a winning trade. It's one of those things, but we're going to be cautious on that trade. Okay, what time are we on? We're going just over an hour now, haven't we? No, just under an hour. Let's do the pound. The Euro Aussie. Let's do the Euro Aussie. And well done to Pete for holding the Euro Aussie down to his first and second targets. Well done, Pete. I'll go over this again. We are still looking for this market to come considerably lower, and the good thing about this is that this trade, this head and shoulders, is on the dailies. So we've got plenty of time before the market reaches this level, or as a minimum the AB equals CD pattern, which is down here. Okay, and even if it was to that AB equals CD pattern, there's still 100 pips up for grabs here on this head and shoulders. Yori CAD. Let's have a look. Yori, there was a currency pair you wanted me to look at, wasn't there? Just let me go back through the chat. Yori, could you just post it in again, Yori? I can't seem to find it, and we'll take a look at it after this one. So here on the 240 then, what I do like and don't like are two things here. The first one is we've got a very directional move. We saw the pullback. We saw the pullback into the wicks, which we spoke about, that double top. We couldn't get involved in the double top, but we did get a little move down to 159 hundredths. And what I do not like now is this. what we're doing here, guys. Whenever we get trend continuation, I can't take trend continuation trades when two things happen. One of them happens quite commonly, and it's a double bottom. Because a double bottom or a retest, because it's an indication the market's going to go higher or potentially stall, particularly since it's coming in at the 15900 psychological number. So I'm actually going to put two structure levels on, one at the close of the candles and one at the low of the wicks, and we're going to zoom out and look left for structure. Major structure level here. Look at the reaction we saw. Let's look left. Major reaction here. We violated this level, pull back and instantly rejected off that point. Another test right here. Double test right here. Test, test, test. Test, test. I'm going to run out of arrows shortly. Test, test, test. I think you get the picture. So, are you now happy, even though we have the daily time frame telling us that we can go short? When we look one time frame lower for our entry reason, would you be happy shorting the market knowing that we actually have a retest or a double bottom at a psychological number that has been tested and we're seeing major reactions in the past? Would you be happy selling the market to violate the structure? Give me a yes or a no. Marcus, the last leg down, lost momentum and was short too. Yes, it certainly was. Yep. Certainly was. Nope, nope, nope. Exactly. So warning sign here that even though I am expecting price to come a lot lower, we want to be wary. This is why we always want to look left for structure. I would be expecting a move higher here. Now, this double bottom is not one I can trade, or this retest, whatever it's going to be. First of all, the RSI did not go oversold on the first test. This is a euro currency and I needed it below 20. And it did also come within the wicks here. But even so, because of that, all those structure levels there and that psychological number, I'm just not going to be happy selling the market. So what could this be? Well, we could actually see the market come up to this point, come lower. Before I finish drawing it out, guys, tell me what it could be. A double-headed head and something. Stewie, was price oversold on the first test? No, it wasn't, Stewie. No, it wasn't. Could be head and shoulders here, guys. Yeah. And now, in this instance, okay, if we have the daily time frame telling us that we're going to go lower, and the bigger picture is I do believe that we're going to go lower, but if this is a head and shoulders, it could be giving us a small amount of relief bullishly. So if I'm playing, if I get involved within this head and shoulders, do I want to be playing for targets up here? Do I want to be playing for targets up here? Or do I want to be playing for the most conservative target, which would be here? So number one is this one, number two is that one, number three is that one. Tell me which one you guys would go for. 1, 2 or 3. 1, conservative, yep. For Stewie, Marcus, conservative as daily trend is still down, yep. Sarah, ABCD pattern, exactly, yes Sarah. Ian, yeah, number 1. Okay, so yeah, when we have this kind of setup, we just want to be more conservative, just like the pound New Zealand. We're going to be more conservative. But yeah, if we do violate this level, because this is a major structure level down here, and let's just go back to the dailies and just take a look. What's the RSI at? Just let me reset the chart, guys. Okay. Do we have any fib confluence down there? Look at that, we have a 1618 inversion right at that 15900 psychological number. And we also have, if you take this leg, the 127 down there as well. So yeah, certainly at this point we could look, because it's coming to a major structure zone, for a little pop to the upside. We will do the same again. We will wait for an initial structure high. So a clear violation and break above close above this level, a pullback, and we will look for the 3 levels again. We will look for the first chance entry, second chance entry, and my favourite, which happens the most, is the last chance entry down here within the wicks. Or if you did want to be more aggressive but still more conservative, and I don't think this will be for me, but you can look for a violation up here of this double bottom, a pullback, and a 2618 trade. And then you could maybe play for a retest of the highs and second targets up here, however you wanted to handle it. That's a possibility. But yeah, certainly waiting for more confirmation at this stage is something that I would do. Wait. Like the other night on the pound yen, on 10 o'clock was waiting for the 2618 to kick in, and we were waiting for the fees to come down, and yeah, just a waiting game. So yeah, Euro Aussie is looking quite nice for a potential this week as well. And I was just saying earlier on today that the head and shoulders strategy, it just hasn't performed the last 2 months, and that is, you know, one of my favourite strategies. It's very, very profitable, and I had missed a few head and shoulders. I've shown you those over the past month or so, but head and shoulders is due to kick in. We're due to see some winners from it, and right now we are starting to see signs of reversals, because head and shoulders is a reversal pattern, but you know, for the past few weeks or so we've seen nothing but directional movements, and that's when we do not see rotation patterns, certainly not head and shoulders anyway. So we could now be seeing a little bit of relief, and certainly the Euro Aussie is due a little bit of relief, and Euro Aussie, same with the Euro Pound and Pound Aussie, that potential head and shoulders as well. So yeah, could be a few things setting up here. So Euro Aussie, just make a note, head and shoulders on that as well. And the last currency pair, guys, we'll make the last one, is the Pound CAD. Pound CAD. In fact, sorry guys, because these are not my normal charts, I need to just make a note of everything. So Euro Aussie head and shoulders, ABCD, plus fibs, plus the psycho number 159 flat. Okay. All right. Pound CAD, guys. If there's no further questions on the Euro Aussie, Pound CAD. Very, very directional move here. Coming lower. Just coming lower. Let's go and take a look at... Well, let's put 2 structure levels on first. One at the close of the candles, one at the wicks. And if we look left for structure, yeah, we do have some structure here. Let's drop down to the 240. Now look at that, guys. Double bottom. Right there now. And it's a confirmed double bottom because we broke to the upside. What we've not done, and let's see if we can draw this out. We had a move lower, then a pullback, then a move lower, then a pullback, then a move lower, then a pullback. Then the move lower was to this point, a pullback, then to this point, and a pullback, and then we've moved lower. Okay, so this little section here was the outside return, which we have now violated. I'm just going to make sure that we have Yeah, we have. Okay. If you look here, because of this wick, we did not close above it. Because of this wick, we closed above it here. So we do now have a violation to the upside. Let's drop down to the 60 then. And on the 60, Marcus shouted this out and it looked like a good head and shoulders. It's invalid for me now, to be honest with you, but he shouted out this potential head and shoulders and it was valid. You know, we had a break to the downside here, we saw a small pullback, and we broke down to this point but failed to go lower, and now we've rotated. But what we do have on the 15 is a cipher pattern, and we can simply look for sorry guys, just looking, might have a breakout pattern there. I'll do it on the 60. So on the 60 we have this cipher pattern, X to A to B, B to C, CD completion was up around here. It's already completed, so we could see a move to the downside as a result of that pattern. If not, we can look for a rotation pattern within the wicks, and we're going to drop one time frame lower to the 15. Let's just clear this up a little bit. So yeah, we can look for a rotation pattern up here, and we can see a couple of things here. What I really like about this is we've got a swing in the market and a very directional move. So this is setting up to me that we could see a head and shoulders or a breakout pattern here. Let me just move this out of the way. So the head and shoulders would look like this: a pullback, a move higher, maybe a double-headed head and shoulders, and something like this. Okay, we could also have a flag pattern here. One touch, two touch, three touch. This would be the fourth touch down here. Does it come into any form of structure? Needs to be a minimum of a 382. Okay, so that's going to be no good. Yeah, we could see it down to this point actually. Sorry guys, I'm just talking to myself, give me a minute. This is what I do, I talk to myself. Kids think I'm bonkers, but it helps to say it out loud. Okay, so we've got this double bottom here, and we've got this retest and this structure level here as well. And we can see now that if price came to this zone but within this channel, then this would be a valid flag. So we'd see a move down to this point. We would have to see another move like that, and then a move down to this point. But this is a very large flagpole, guys. So it's unlikely that we're just going to see a small retracement. We could see the bounces like this, and this could be, yeah, this could be a flag pattern. Okay, if you wanted to play for an extension, you do have a problem here, and that is that your target, the 127, is above structure. So you can do a couple of things. If you get your entry down here, something like this, you can either just play for a retest of the highs up to this point, and that would be your most conservative way of doing it. Or the second way is to play for second targets for the 127. So you could do that. For me personally, let me have a look at the higher time frame. Yeah, even though we've violated this outside return, we're still kind of within this massive structure area just here, aren't we, guys? And we've got no confirmation at this point that we're actually going to go higher. So for me, this would just be a 1 in, 1 out if it turns out to be a flag. But we've got certainly a very nice pole there. So yeah, a few things setting up then on the pound CAD as well. Let me make a note of that. So pound CAD cipher and head and shoulders plus flag. But yeah, that will be a 1 in, 1 out for me. But with it being a pound pair, lots and lots of pips up for risk and reward. Oh, well, that's not too bad. 26 of risk. Reward would be 63. Yeah, so just a 1 in, 1 out for me on that one, guys. Let me catch up with the chat as well. Yuri, yeah, came into structure exactly, Stuart. Already bearish divergence. Yes, there is. So depending what happens here, we may get a double top up here. We may get a head and shoulders, or this may be the turning point for the cipher pattern, and we may see it come lower. And if that happens and we adhere to this trend line, then that's going to give us a very nice flag pattern. So lots and lots of opportunities out in the market, isn't there, guys? Lots of opportunities. How's our other trades doing? Let's just take a look. We've seen a reaction yet on the dollar yen. What about the pound yen? It's stalling. Pound dollar's up and down. Well, at least I've not lost. Marcus, we already have £2 trades. Can have a max of 3. Yes. Exposure on the pound pairs. I can only be in a maximum of 3 of any pound pair or yen pairs or euro trades. We don't want too much exposure, because if they all reverse and they all lose at the same time, then that's a lot of exposure that we've had on those trades. So 3 is the maximum, and I really prefer to have at least one of the trades well into profit, and at least be able to reduce the risk on it, so it limits my exposure if the market suddenly turns and goes the other way. So lots of opportunity, guys. I think the majority of these are going to be tomorrow. Pound CAD might be in the middle of the night, but that's a fairly big trade, so I'm going to set an alert for that. So if we get down to this price reversal zone and my alert goes off and it gives me my entry reason, I will be entering that. So if you don't want to receive the signal at 3 in the morning, mute Telegram. Because that's how, if you don't know, guys, that's how the signals are sent out, Telegram and email. So mute your phone. If not, I'll be up, because that's worth a good 63 pips, and I'm happy to get up for 63 pips. That's a decent amount. It's over 50. Any questions, guys? We've been over quite a few currency pairs there, quite a few nice looking setups, aren't they, in the market? We will see if any of them play out. Would be nice to see a few winners. Reports on the euro tomorrow. I haven't checked the news for tomorrow, to be honest, Yuri. Let's see, can I bring that up? The news for tomorrow. So I'm just going to bring over the news Forex Factory calendar for tomorrow. So we've got a little bit of pound news at 11 in the morning, CBI trade balance for the New Zealand. Yeah, a little bit of news for tomorrow. Nothing that would stop me taking any trades, to be honest with you. So any questions then, guys, just before we wrap this up, and I'll go and get my tea. Sarah, has starting the signal service affected your psychology at all? I think, yeah, it has, and it's also affected my trading. One of the main reasons for me setting up the website and the signal service was that it would help my psychology, because I am an emotional person, and that was the number one reason why I always lost money. Even though I've been doing, quite well with trading, I knew that the next step was just pure accountability, where I could be completely open and completely transparent with the trades. And the only way to really do that is to offer a signal service. And so I thought that was the next level. And I think there's room still for improvement on my trading. I think there's always going to be room for improvement. Even if you're the world's best trader, there's always room to improve. And I know that the psychology aspect is still an area that I personally want to improve on. Earlier on today, I got a little bit angry at Instagram, because I was trying to upload a picture to Instagram from a PC. Now you can do it just by changing it to a mobile version. So web developers use it. They use it for checking that it looks correct on a mobile compared to your desktop, and it wasn't working. But yet I had it working in the past, and it was because my computer had reset, and it for an hour, and it drove me insane. So, and at the end of the day, I then had to walk away because I was getting pretty angry at the damn thing. I wasted an hour, and then I went onto Chrome, and it worked on Chrome fine. It didn't work on Firefox. So, but I understood that was a trigger, and I'd been at it for an hour, and it wasn't working, and I was getting angry, and I knew at that point that was the trigger, and I had to walk away. So just linking a couple of things into what happened with SED, understanding what a trigger is part of the battle. But yeah, it has affected my psychology, because at the other end as well, I've tried to make the trade signals that we send out to be of the highest quality, and that means that I've really limited the number of aggressive trades I would take. In fact, over the past couple of months, there's been multiple winning trades where we've called the entry stops and targets, and they've gone on to win. Now, some of those I would have been more aggressive with and entered, but because I only enter trades that we send out on the signal service, then I've limited myself. So it has affected me that way. So psychology and also my trading. But again, as things start to settle down, and I find my comfort zone between doing the signals and between doing the webinars and my trading as well, discipline, you're exactly, Marcus, best to walk away. And that's what it is. And just understanding that was the right time to walk away. In actual fact, I think the right time to walk away was 20 minutes earlier. That was probably the right time to walk away. So I was a little bit late with that, but that was the right thing to do. It's the same with trading. If you have those emotions, walk away. Don't sabotage the trade because you're in it. Leave it to play out, because the number of trades I had win after I sabotaged them, oh God, I would have made so much money. Do you know that? Pete, maybe in the future you could color code some trades: red, amber, green, and aggressive, and take more. You know what? My father said the same thing, Pete. I was talking to him. He lives in England. I was talking to him. It wasn't even a week ago. And he was just asking how work's going and things. And I said, yeah, it's going quite well. This has happened and that has happened. And he said, well, why don't you put a colour code system in there? And I could do. But here's the thing. The signal service is a signal of when to buy and sell. If I was sending it out and then leaving it for a trader who is inexperienced, saying, here you go, you decide what you want to do. You either enter in the red ones, the amber or the greens, and they've got no experience, then, I don't think that would help them. But Pete, I know that sometimes you can be an aggressive trader and would help you, but on another hand, I think it would confuse other traders. So it's a good idea, but it's not something I'm going to implement. Plus, it would be a considerable extra amount of work for me. because I'd be sending out more signals. And to be honest, what I'd like to do is reduce the number of signals. 2 trades a day, okay, is perfect for me. 2 trades a day. 1 to 1.5 of those win. You know, a 1 to 200 pip week is not uncommon. You know, a 200 pip week is not uncommon. We were almost there last week, weren't we? 120 pips up on Tuesday, and we gave it all back. But this could be a good week. You know, we're in some good trades, but we'll wait and see. So I don't think it'll be something that I introduce. But as your trading gets better, you can determine for yourself what is aggressive, what isn't, and decide to be more aggressive with some of those trades. So yeah, I've really limited the aggression with the signal service for that reason. So I've actually missed out on a lot of winners as a result of it. I've not tallied, I've not been keeping a record of would I have been up more being aggressive compared to how I am now. But I think just from recording them in my mind as we've been going along, I would have made more pips being more aggressive. Stuart, we could beat your record week at some point. Yeah, do you know what? I don't see why. I mean, you look at the trades that are setting up, Stewie. What was the one with 522 pips? Was it the pound CAD or the pound New Zealand? And then you've got the pound Aussie, which is 400 pips. They all look good opportunities. We just need to wait for the extra confirmation, and we get the entry, and it does happen. It does happen, and we all need one of those trades to come off, and it'll make you month, it'll make you 2 months, won't it? So, anyway, guys. Thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed the webinar again. I hope you have as well. There will be another webinar tomorrow, but I have appointments in the morning, so it may not be till around 1 in the afternoon, maybe 2. But I will send out a quick hit review video in the morning. Apart from that, guys, thank you very much for joining me again, and I will see you in the chat and on the next webinar.